The Emerging Enterprise Awards are brought to you by OCBC, Asia's best SME bank, and the Business Times.
If you've ever walked through a spotless mall, hospital, or airport and wondered how on earth it stays that way, the answer increasingly is robots. And one Singapore company is quickly becoming the quiet powerhouse behind that shift, Hivebotics. Their AI-driven cleaning systems, from multifunctional robotic arms to high-efficiency vapour tech, are cutting cleaning times, boosting consistency, and setting new hygiene standards across the globe. This year, Hivebotics snagged a win at the Emerging Enterprise Awards 2025, marking it as one of the region's fastest rising innovators. Joining us today is the founder and CEO leading that charge, Rishab Patwari, to talk about Hivebotics' journey, what this award means, and how robotics is redefining the future of clean cities. Rishab, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me here.
To start with, can you briefly describe your business and tell us what it does?
No, absolutely. At Hivebotics, we're actually on a mission to build the autonomy infrastructure to take on roles where there's a shortage of manpower to fulfill them. And one of the sectors that's facing heavy challenges is actually the cleaning sector. And we're starting off with restrooms because those are some of the most challenging robotics problems to solve in facilities management.
So Hivebotics has become known for its multifunctional robotic arm that can clean a range of surfaces using high-pressure steam and vapor systems. Can you walk us through what makes this tech different from what's currently out there in the market?
So you must have seen a lot of robots in Singapore. In fact, we have second highest adoption in the world. But most of these robots are two-dimensional. Floor cleaning robots, security robots. Essentially, they have a map and they can move around and they have a fixed function. What we are doing is we are bringing it to a whole new dimension, which is three-dimensional robots that can now interact with the environment to handle 3D spaces like cleaning a toilet bowl, urinal, sink, mirror, and much, much more.
And this is, I suppose, why you've been recognized. So let's get into the milestone itself. Tell us which award you won at the Emerging Enterprise Awards and what winning it means to you and the team at Hivebotics.
So I think the team recognized us as one of the most promising startups in Asia. So our team is extremely grateful. It's a huge achievement for us. It means a lot for us in the sense that the award gives us a lot of visibility, allows us to share that credibility that's built up with partners and also with potential investors that Hivebotics is on the right track. And not only that, it also boosts the team's morale as well. I think the work that we are doing is really hard and cutting edge. So a little bit of boost really goes a long way to keep the team, even excited to take on even greater challenges ahead.
Yeah, I'm sure. Now, the award process was no walk in the park. We had site visits, tough judging panels, the full works. What really stood out to you and how did those stages get you thinking differently about your business?
I think what really stood out to me was that some of the questions that the judges asked, they are really thought-provoking. A lot of the questions were about long-term, how we will evolve. Again, what we are doing is something really cutting edge. In fact, we are one of the only robots in the world. I think we are only 3 companies that are even trying to solve this problem yet. And we are leading. So a lot of it is about how does the business evolve in the future, what kind of challenges we'll face, how are we going to address them. Getting, challenged from different viewpoints helps us to also think through some of these things really carefully, especially being a Singapore company going global with a product like this. And I think the team's expertise and experience, having seen many companies from Singapore go on to the global stage, helped us to also get some feedback that can be really instrumental in our journey ahead.
Yeah, to your point about your global expansion, you're already serving markets across Singapore, Europe, the Middle East, and North America. What for you have been the biggest lessons from scaling globally so early on in the company's journey?
I think the reason why we went out early was because Singapore is a great market. It's a very good test bed. But we will only know our real challenges when we go to the main markets. The labor costs in countries in Europe and North America is 2 or 3 times of Singapore, and the crisis is much bigger. So if we are not there, then our product will not get, developed to the requirements of the scaling market. So having our feet on the ground, maybe in a very small scale, but necessary scale is very important early on so that we know that we are not stuck in a bubble where we only design things based on Singapore, and then when it's time to scale, we're not ready at all. So this was a really good learning for us. Now what we are seeing is that Another opportunity that happens in a big scaling market is that a few customers can basically allow you to scale within them without having to go to many, many customers who have small volumes. So for a global product like this, that's very important because volumes means that you become more competitive in pricing, you're able to produce at scale, and that also helps in Singapore because then Singapore can benefit from globally competitive pricing and procurement as well.
Now, it's no secret that facilities management is often perceived as a traditional sector. How do you find organizations responding when you introduce automation and robotics into their workflows? And what convinces them to adopt? I'm talking about fence sitters.
I think it's a very big jump for them, rightfully so. This is an industry that is very heavily dependent on human workforce. And a lot of the skepticism is whether or not it will end up becoming a white elephant, costing more than it can actually serve. So a lot of the work that we do is actually to prove through validation with data that, hey, we are doing outcome. We are generating outcomes, not just giving you a robot, but we are actually giving you better cleaning or consistent cleaning. And now with this tool at your disposal, we can work out how can we best utilize the human workforce that is around them. And we design these things together with our partners on how the human and the robots can interact because now, if the human is freed up from a task, but there's still 10% or 15% of the tasks that the robots can't do that the human has to do, what does the human do then? Because you still have to pay for the human. So working together, designing new workflows is how we actually help our customers find that right spot where they can benefit from the solution and move forward to adopting it at scale.
So as you think about the next phase, Rishab, of Hivebotics' growth, where do you see the biggest opportunities for innovation in the space of facility management robotics?
Well, I think this is one of the most important spaces. It's the one that faces the biggest labor shortage challenge. I think there's more than 2 million unfulfilled positions globally in facilities management. And what we see is that physical AI is something that's happening around the world. You see NVIDIA, Tesla, all the big boys talking about it. But that is still far away because trying to build everything in one robot is very difficult. And nothing has actually, frankly, gotten to the point where it can be useful. What we have done is a useful robot that you can see the value right away in front of you. And these are sectors where the usefulness of robotics can be seen immediately. And we see that facilities management itself is a huge sector with many different problems: cleaning, security, landscaping, which all of them bit by bit can be increasingly automated. And that's where you see robots all around you. And we entered a robotic era together.
Winning the Most Promising Startup Award at the Emerging Enterprise Awards is a pretty significant chapter in the company's history. How do you see this recognition shaping your company's next phase in terms of growth, innovation, as well as leadership?
I think after this award, definitely boosts the team a lot. In terms of our growth, innovation, and leadership, what we are looking at is that how can we leverage the visibility that we have now to expedite some of the conversions that were, like what you mentioned, some of the people who were a little bit like, hey, is this company going to be, ready to actually deploy these kind of things or not? And now they know that we're actually doing it at scale, and that helps them to make the decision faster. So that's one of the areas. In terms of growth, I think some of the partnerships that we are forming after the award, those are really relevant in helping us to scale. Partnerships including financing arrangements, including partnerships with people who can do distribution globally. So these are really important notes that help us in expediting our journey, especially.
And final question, there are a lot of young companies out there who wish to take part in the Emerging Enterprise Awards. Why would you encourage them to do so?
I think, first of all, it's not a lot of work to apply for the award. So, put in your best shot and, let the team make a decision for you. It's really nice. For us, it's an interesting story is that I applied on the last day of submission.
Oh.
And I did not know about the award until the last day of submission. And our relationship manager at OCBC called me, hey, drop whatever you're doing. You got to do this. And I looked it up. Okay, I will do it in a while. I'm busy. No, do it right now.
Yeah.
And I did it. And thankfully, if I had not had that do it right now phase, I would have procrastinated and then maybe missed it or something. But I think what I felt was that the award process was really valuable for us. Going through the question, meeting the OCBC team,
Yeah.
the different partners, getting exposed to them, knowing what kind of tools that are out there. that could help us in our journey ahead. The entire journey just started because of the award, that application itself.
Yeah.
So for companies who are out there, whether you become a finalist or not, there's so much value they can get by being part of the process that I think that it's totally worth it. And you should definitely consider not procrastinating and just putting in a submission. It's not a lot of work.
Yeah, it's not a lot of work. Never give up hope. Well, you'll certainly inspire many of those companies to follow in your footsteps, I'm sure. Hivebotics is clearly redefining what smart, efficient, and hygienic facilities can look like. And we're very excited to see how your tech continues raising the bar in the years ahead. Rishab, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me here today.
You're very welcome. Stay with Money FM 89.3.
The Emerging Enterprise Awards are brought to you by OCBC, Asia's best SME bank, and the Business Times, recognizing the young, bold ambition of businesses in Asia under 10 years old.
Money FM 89.